Good evening and welcome to the latest installment of the Ross Raider Wrap-Up. I am Matt Harrelson, of course, alongside with me for the ride, Dion Cranford. How you doing, Dion?
It's a great day. It's beautiful. The groundhog is right. Spring came early, so I've been enjoying it.
Busy though. And not to be outdone, of course, Richmond Raider sports are also busy. Most of them, if they haven't already wrapped up their regular seasons, are getting to that point. With that being said, let's start with Raider basketball. Of course, doing very well, aren't they?
Well, I mean, I don't know where they came from. It's a completely different team that started this season.
Absolutely.
Doing a wonderful job right now. They had 2 games since our last show. They played at Jack Britt.
Yep.
And if you check out the Richmond Observer, we talked about how that was kind of a big milestone victory because the Raiders won that one 49-48 at Jack Britt. It's the first time Richmond's ever won at Jack Britt. They were 0-13 in that series going into that game. It's the first time they've ever won in that gym.
Wow.
And I couldn't think of a better way to win it. Nige Stroman, of course, with a basket with 5.7 seconds left, lifted them to a 1-point victory. It was 49-48. Can't get much more exciting than that to get a big win.
Let me ask you this. Talking about them never winning, what do you think the reason is they've never been able to get a victory at Jack Britt? I mean, you're talking about going back several years, right?
Yeah, they started playing back in the 2000-2001 school year, I think it was.
I think I was there when we first started playing them.
Well, Jack Britt opened around that time,
Yeah.
so they're relatively new school. I don't even think they've been around 24 years yet. But when the school opened, they kind of got thrust into that conference with Richmond and Scotland. They had that old Mid-Southeastern Conference.
Right.
And Jack Britt, just being from Fayetteville, you had in our conference, you had Jack Britt, you had Westover, you had 71st, who were all just excellent basketball schools. You know, Jack Britt was still new, but it didn't take them long to kind of.
They still had talent in the Fayetteville area.
Yeah, that too. And like I said, just being in Fayetteville, it didn't take them long to kind of live up to that expectation that Fayetteville has on basketball. And Richmond just struggled to find wins, during that time. That 8-year span and that Richmond and Jack Britt were in the Mid-Southeastern Conference, I think the Raiders got 2 wins. I think it was like 2-17.
So it was time. We were due, right?
Yep, it was definitely due. And Richmond broke a long streak last year. Oddly enough, Richmond, I think, only had maybe 2 conference wins last year, but one of them was against Jack Britt, but it was a home game. So they broke that, at least the losing streak, and then this year they broke the home game streak, or the visiting streak.
You're telling me that last year the boys team only had 2 SAC wins.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they've picked up both of those in the last week. They've already matched that.
Yeah.
But before we finish up talking about Jack Britt, of course, Nige Stroman ended up with 22 points. Roderick Newman chipped in 11. Now, we're going to talk more about Nige Stroman here in just a few minutes, but talk a minute about, we were talking about before we started filming, about how I feel like a month ago or so, he's only 15. I feel like he woke up one morning and was like, I figured out how to play basketball.
Well, it's not just that. It's funny because I spent the last week kind of looking at some film from all throughout the season, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be an expert. I'm just kind of basing on what I've seen. But I felt like there was a lot more strategy earlier in the season where they were trying to look for those shots and make those opportunities. Whereas now I think they realize they've got the talent, they've got the size, they've got the speed, and to just go in there and really attack the hoop because I'll be honest with you, they're drawing a lot of fouls. They're getting to the free throw line. They're making those free throws, which is huge.
Absolutely.
And then they're dominating, especially at the offensive board. They're getting rebound after rebound, second, third chance shot. And when you've got a guy like Nige in there with his athleticism and his speed and his size and his energy, he's going to get you those rebounds. He's going to get you those second chances. And if you can ever get him open in there, he's going to get you some points. So
absolutely. 6'7", 205, only 15. I mean, that's a grown man.
That is.
Absolutely. So that was a big win for Richmond. Let me ask you this. That was obviously a tough matchup, only won by 1 point. A W is a W. But I feel like Richmond's been going way past the 50-point mark. Is Jack Britt's defense that good? Were they able to neutralize us a little bit?
Well, probably a little bit so. Jack Britt's pretty good. I think one of the biggest things with Jack Britt is they were able to match the quickness. Richmond would get a score, and then Jack Britt would turn right back around and attack. So it caused Richmond to maybe slow down a little bit from what they're used to doing and playing a little bit of defense themselves. Keeping Jack Britt from getting a lot of easy baskets and matching us point performance because it was 21-21 at halftime. It was a 1-point game at the end of the game. So, it was pretty much just back and forth the whole game. And when that happens, both teams are just constantly making adjustments and trying to figure things out. But yeah, I think Richmond probably actually had to slow their game down a little bit as well, and that kind of kept the score down a little bit.
Well, and even if that's the case, it's good to see that Richmond has the ability to adapt to that style of play and still be able to pick up a W, whether it's trying to outrun you up and down the court, or whether it's play more of a half-court type of style, and it seems like they're successful either way.
And another thing to remember is in the first game, I think Richmond was limited to like 32 points.
Right.
Against Jack Britt.
Okay.
So, I mean, it still went up. It still was better.
And, of course, as you mentioned, Nige actually won the game for us with just under 6 seconds left, got the go-ahead basket. So, of course, we got that W. Next up from the past 7 days was another win, this time at Hoke County, able to beat the Bucks 61-41.
Yeah, I was actually telling Kyle last week that's my favorite place to go to a basketball game.
Yeah,
if
why
you
is
haven't
that?
been to
You
a
were telling us that.
Well, it's just it's not a big gym, and I'm not picking on them. It's not a big gym, but when you have
neither is Cameron Indoor.
Well, that's true. But when you have and this will kind of follow the same example.
Yeah.
When you have a basketball program that's had the history and success as Hoke County has, and you can pack those rabid fans in that little tiny gym, it's just an awesome place to be. Plus, they usually have a band. You know, I mean, it's just it's really high. Everybody that does go is into the game. You know, I mean, you don't have any just casual spectators just kind of hanging out and socializing. It's loud. Everybody's involved, and it's just such a fun atmosphere there.
I was going to say, not to necessarily compare them to the Cameron Crazies in Durham, but is it kind of the similar style where everybody's like right on top of you and they're loud and like you mentioned?
Exactly. I mean, and I'm telling you, those out of bounds lines are pretty much where the bleachers start. So if you fly out of bounds, you're going to wind up in somebody's lap.
There you go. Well, despite all of that, Raiders still able to win by 20. So how'd they end up doing that?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is they just took off early. I mean, they took control of that game early, did a lot of it from behind the arc, hit a lot of threes early, and they were up, I believe, well, I made a note of it, was 24-8 at the end of the first quarter. Hoke just didn't have an answer early on. I mean, I think you could have blindfolded most of Richmond's players, and they could have threw it up and it would have went in the net. It was just one of those nights where they found everything they were looking for, and it was. They played really well. They did everything right. And Hoke really responded there in the third quarter. Coming out of halftime, they made some adjustments and actually had a good third quarter to kind of cut it. I think it was about 6 points. So, they cut that huge lead down, but then, Richmond answered right back with a big run in the fourth. So.
Yeah. Well, basketball is a game of runs, so to speak. So you have to be able to, if a team starts making a run, you have to be able to try to neutralize that, at least slow them down a little bit. But yeah, so this was now Richmond's 7th conference win in a row.
And I got to apologize for something that was actually printed in the Richmond Observer. Kyle reported that was the first time since 2003, 2004 that Richmond had won 7 in a row. But when I do a lot of the background research for his stories, and when I was doing the research, I actually counted a win against a team that was not in our conference at the time. So they only had 6.
Oh, okay.
So I believe that actually goes all the way back to 1997.
So, as far as we know, that's now a record for us. Conference games in a row.
Well, I don't think it's a record. I think it was, like I said, I think it was done in '97, but it's been over 20 years.
So it's been a while.
It's been a while. And I think if they do beat Lumberton tonight, that'll break it. That'll be a school record.
Sounds good. As far as the Hoke game, got some stats here for you. Roderick Newman chipped in 16 points. Of course, Drummond did what he's been doing for the last month and a half. He had 14. Caleb Hood had 14 as well, and then Xavier Pettigrew chipped in another 8 points. So seems like they're spreading the ball around too. That's key, right?
Well, it's funny you should say that because they had a few games where they were getting 7, 8, 9 guys in the scoring stats, but I think this game they only had about 6 score points, which I mean isn't terrible, but it's kind of less than what they're used to. But.
Sure. Well, a W is a W.
Yes.
So, as you just precursored, of course, they are playing at home tonight against Lumberton. So, what can we expect to see?
Well, I mean, they won on the road against Lumberton, and surprisingly, they won. I mean, it wasn't a blowout, but they seemed to be in control of most of that game. The biggest thing tonight, if they can beat Lumberton tonight, then next Tuesday it will set up a game with 71st for the conference title.
And who would have thought that, right?
To start off 0-4 at the bottom of the standings, and now they're a half a game out, or I guess they're a full game out of first. But 71st is one game ahead, and then there's about a 3-way tie between Richmond, Lumberton, and Pinecrest, in which Richmond kind of has that tiebreaker. So if Richmond wins out, they will get the number 1 spot in the conference tournament. They use the whole Max Preps thing, so I'm not sure how that's going to play out in terms of if there's a tie in the conference. If there's a tie in the conference, say, between like Richmond and Pinecrest, where it's 1-1, I'm not sure how it's broken. But if Richmond wins out and they remain tied with 71st, then they'll get the number 1 berth from the conference for the playoffs as well.
Yes,
So.
and that's amazing considering that, as you said, they started out in conference 0-4, now 7-4, just 1 game out. Now it is kind of bunched up there, but to me, I mean, what else can you say just about how great they played? I don't know what happened, what kind of adjustments Coach Pettigrew told his guys, but it seems like after that those 4 losses, something just clicked, didn't it?
It did. Ever since that first Lumberton game, now that we're back to Lumberton, it's good to mention that seemed to be the turning point. It just something happened, and it's been going uphill ever since.
Absolutely, and hopefully that will continue tonight against Lumberton. So also playing tonight will be the girls team, but let's talk about their most recent game. They also picked up a win, or rather, let's start with Jack Britt.
Yeah.
That was a 42-30 loss, correct?
Yeah, and that was the one we kind of talked about last week. I said they had that magic number. They needed 3 out of 4. They really needed Jack Britt because Jack Britt and Richmond are kind of sitting in the middle of those standings. And they're currently number 4 and 5, and Richmond really, really, really needed that win, unfortunately, and they didn't get it because the top 4, I believe, are guaranteed postseason spots. So if they could have gotten that win and moved up in the top 4, it would have helped. Now, they're not completely out of it yet, but that was kind of that key game they really needed to try to win. But once again, when you're talking about a Fayetteville school, even in girls basketball, you're going to have a lot of talent up there. And Jack Britt was just really good, and unfortunately, we're able to come away with a win.
So they had a loss there, but they're technically still alive.
They're still alive.
Needed another win, and then they picked that up against Hoke, winning 55-42. So pretty dominating win there.
Yeah, like I said, this one's kind of surprising. Now, looking at Hoke's record on the season, I guess maybe not so much, but Hoke typically has pretty good basketball teams, both in boys and girls. So I mean, it was still a big win for Richmond as a program and Richmond as in this season to kind of stay in the standings and stay in that race. Like I said, I'm not saying they're completely out of the conversation if they do finish 5th, but they're kind of on that bubble if they can just bounce up one. And then of course you've got the opportunity in the conference tournament as well. So if they could win in there, that would help them too. But we would like to see both of them get into the postseason. Sure. And they're definitely not out of the question. They're looking at the standings right now. You've got Pinecrest at 9-2 in the conference, 71st and Lumberton 8-3, and Jack Britt as well as 8-3. Yeah. And then you got Richmond at 6-5. So they're kind of 2 games out of that jumble, but there's 3 games left. So
Richmond, looking at the girls' standing, the Lady Raiders are kind of stuck in the middle there, where, like you said, there's 3 teams with 3 losses right above them. And then after that, it's Hoke who has 8 losses. So a lot of things still left to be said, though.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, unfortunately, they put themselves in a situation where they pretty much have to win out. And I believe they'll beat Scotland at the end of the season. But you still got Lumberton and 71st who are really strong and both ahead of them. So we'll have to see how it works.
And, of course, going back to the Hoke game, Jakara Covington had 14 points. Jalen McDougal had 13. They were the only 2 Lady Raiders to score in double digits. But Alexis Sweeney chipped in 8. Lane Maltby scored 7. I feel like she's improved over this season as well. And then Talia Wall also had 6 points. They actually went on 2 11-0 runs in this game. I see here in your notes. That's impressive.
Yeah, they had one early to kind of catch up. They had fallen behind early, and they had 11-0 run to kind of catch up and take a couple-point lead. And then in the third quarter, when it kind of balanced itself out again, Richmond went on an 11-0 run in the fourth, so they run away with it.
So they, for the most part, scored at least almost half their points in those 2 runs there. And like I said, basketball is a game of runs, and you need to be able to do that, especially an 11-0 run, so where they don't score at all. Of course, they're also going to be playing Lumberton tonight, so just like I asked you with the boys, what do you expect?
I'll be honest with you, that's not an impossible one for our girls. I think they've got probably a better chance than I think anybody in Lumberton wants to think they have. But I believe that if they play the way they did, especially in the second and fourth quarters against Hope, absolutely, I could see them winning it. So.
All right. Well, before we move on from Raiders basketball, of course, want to say congratulations to Nige Stroman, who a sophomore on the Richmond Senior High School boys basketball team, of course, has been named the official Richmond County Male Athlete of the Week by the Richmond Observer. Of course, you can find his whole profile on the richmondobserver.com or on the RO app. But as I mentioned earlier, he's only 15 years old. He's only a sophomore. He plays power forward. He's 6'7", 205, though. I mean, as I mentioned to you before we started filming, I feel like a month ago something clicked in his head. I know he's been playing basketball basically since he was born, but with that kind of size, I really feel like he's going to be getting some D1 looks here in the next couple of years. Do you agree?
It's very possible. I mean, it's so funny because I was talking to one of the other fans at one of the games. It may have been the last game, I'm not sure, but we were talking about when he was at Hamlet Middle School and how he just towered over everybody in middle school, and he was in the quarterback for the football team, and he was on the basketball team, and he played on the baseball team, and he was just so big. And then I remember us having this conversation like, well, when he gets to the high school, it'll balance out and everybody. And nope, he just kept growing.
Yeah.
So it's impressive. And if he keeps doing what he's doing, I would love to get a D1 basketball player from Richmond. It's been a while since we've seen it. And he could definitely be in the talks for that in the future.
He's got the size. It seems like he's got the talent as well. So. But again, I think it goes without saying that he's been very integral to Donald Pettigrew and the team's now 7-game winning streak within the SAC. This is actually his first official athlete of the week. So, of course, congratulations to him again.
Well deserved.
Absolutely. And again, you can find the whole profile on the RichmondObserver.com or on the RO app. You know what else you can find on there was Kyle's story about National Signing Day, and there were a bunch of them.
There
12
were.
altogether, Lady Raider and Raiders. So you want to run through these, talk about them?
Well, we'll start with baseball since we're kind of walking into baseball season here. But you had Alex Anderson. He's going to Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, Maryland.
Which, by the way, I don't want to interrupt you here, but look, Johns Hopkins not really known for baseball, but is he that smart? Because that's a really tough school to get into.
Well, I'm going to say he is. He must be.
He's got to be.
Because they don't let you in just because you can hit it out of the park.
No, they do not. But he's Alex Anderson heading to Johns Hopkins. Who else?
Tyler Bass is going to Brunswick Community College, and I'll tell you, a lot of people hear community college, but I'm going to say right now, Brunswick Community College has always had a stellar baseball program, and has taken several of our athletes.
Yeah, I remember when I was in high school, we had a couple guys that went and played for them, and I feel like maybe one of them ended up playing minor league baseball. So it's definitely a stepping stone, good program.
I can see it. I've been to a few games there. It's actually they've got a good thing going out there. So good luck to Tyler there, because that's not a bad place to go.
Now let's move to the next one here so I can wave my flag.
Well, Cameron Caraway is going to Garbage University.
Oh, come on, Dion. He's going to be a Bulldog.
He's going to be a Bulldog at Wingate. Congratulations to Cameron. Now we have our Wingate UNCP battle going up here. But congratulations to him. That's going to be fun. I actually go to a few Wingate games every year, so it'll be interesting if I can catch him a few times.
I need to go to more. Matter of fact, I haven't been to the stadium or stepped on the field since I tried to walk on when I was there. It didn't go well, but then we got one more baseball player.
We do.
Yep, all the way at the end.
We do. I lost one. Oh yeah, all the way down at the bottom. Garrett Wigman. He's going to Guilford College. He's going to be a Quaker. We've had a few go there too as well, baseball and softball. So
very good.
Congratulations to all of those guys. And looking at football, I'll get back to soccer. Looking at football, when I was typing this out for the notes for the show, I was sitting there thinking, man, we spent all year talking about all these super sophomores.
Yeah.
And here we got all these seniors going to college to play football. Yeah. So looking at this, we got Tavion Ellerby. He's going to Lewisburg College. We've had a few go there. Rasheed Patrick also going to Lewisburg College. Yep. Jake Ransom going to UNC Charlotte. Going to be a 49er.
Absolutely.
I might have to catch a few of those too.
Yeah.
And Malik Stanback going to Wofford. I always say Wofford. Wofford.
Well, they are the Bulldogs, aren't they, as well?
Yeah, they're Wofford.
The Wolfords.
And Bobby Terry, and see, this is another one I don't like, but he's going to Winston-Salem State University, and that's the UNCP in me because we don't like them either.
Okay. Yeah.
But no, congratulations to all those guys. Yeah, Winston-Salem State kind of whooped us this year. So.
Oh, and also Jordan Wall, who's heading to Presbyterian as well.
Jordan Wall, Presbyterian, yep.
Now, we cover the Raider football program pretty extensively, so we recognize all these names, but all of these guys were I know Malik missed the season due to an injury, but as far as being a quote-unquote cheerleader and a motivator, all these guys were very important to the Raiders' run this year, weren't they?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, man, we've said these names over and over and over again throughout the season, so, I don't think anybody's surprised at all to see that these guys are going to be playing on the next level.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of excited because one of the things that I do with the Richmond Observer is kind of follow up on these guys once they get to college, so I'm kind of excited to see what they do at the next level.
Now, we've got a couple soccer players here that I'll let you read out here, but before we do that, Jake Ransom, I think it's safe to say that out of these schools, UNC Charlotte is probably the most well-known, right? The biggest.
Yeah.
I know that UNC Charlotte's only had a football program for just a handful of years. But I've been saying now for a couple of years that it would not surprise me whatsoever to see UNC Charlotte become a really viable football program within the next 5-10 years. One of the main reasons is because it's in Charlotte. It's a big city. They have a brand new stadium. UNC Charlotte, I feel like, would be able to recruit people there to play football. We're in the South. There's a lot of players in North Carolina that I feel like eventually would want to go there. Now, hopefully, it'll be within Jake's 4 years there. But do you agree with that? That they should be a good football program?
And I mean, not just Jake, but you were talking about recruiting within the state. Just think of recruiting within Charlotte, Butler, Mallard Creek, Myers Park, Vance. I mean, goodness gracious, you could put like all-star team there right at the college right now. So I think that's a good fit for Jake. He's definitely got size, but the kid's got smarts. I mean, he's just so well in the way he speaks and so well in the way he plays. I'm excited for him. I think he's going to do really well there, and I think I could, like you said, I could definitely see that program growing really quickly.
And to be a successful center, you have to have the size, but you have to be smart too.
You do have to be.
You have to know where everybody on the offense is going, where they're going to be. You have to be able to figure out maybe perhaps who's rushing, who's blitzing, to be able to let your quarterback know or your other offensive lineman to perhaps pick up a block. And I think he does all those things very well. You know what? I'll even take that and raise you one and say, what is UNC Charlotte in? Conference USA now?
Yeah, they are. Mm-hmm.
So I could even say, not maybe in the next 5 or 10 years, but eventually UNC Charlotte could potentially end up in a Power 5 conference, the way we see teams move around these days. I'd even go that far.
I could see it. As long as the money and the attention keeps going in there and feeding in there, absolutely.
Exactly. So 2 more names here. Let's read off the soccer guys here.
All right, I lost my spot, so that's why I don't do much already. Let's see. Okay, we got Nolan Allen. He's going to Piedmont International University.
Also up there in Winston-Salem?
In Winston-Salem. And I got to be honest with you, I'd never heard of that. I had to look it up.
Either. Yeah.
That would surprise me. So.
And then the Lone Lady Raiders signing yesterday or Wednesday.
Tatum Hubbard's going to Methodist, and that's another one I kind of follow on the college level, so I'm kind of excited to see another one going there and to follow up with her in the future and see how she's playing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, congratulations to all 12 Raider and Lady Raider on National Signing Day on Wednesday. Hopefully they will continue their athletic careers and do big things moving forward, as we see a lot of former Raiders do at the next level. So. And, of course, you've been keeping track of that. Real quick, before we move on, Ethan Balcom is a specific name that you've been keeping track of, playing baseball, correct? Where is he? What's he doing?
He's at UNC Pembroke, and I really kind of mentioned him over the last few weeks because of the way I guess the last week, the season just started. But he had a walk-off home run, I believe, in the season opener.
Can't beat that.
To win that one. They played Shepherd. UNCP played Shepherd in 3 games, and it was so funny because – he had the walk-off home run in the opener. They won the second one by, I don't know, it was a close margin. When I went back to check back on the third game that I wasn't able to attend, they were down like 10-2. Came back later and checked it. They won like 13-12, and he had the last hit in that game as well.
Wow.
So
that's
big start for him. And another one I'd like to mention is Owen Bowers down in Florida.
Yes.
Florida's Southwestern. I always mess that one up. I always say Southwest. Yeah, Southwestern. Her very first collegiate at-bat was a grand slam.
Wow.
Very first at-bat in college. So huge starts for them. We've got a couple other former Raiders playing this spring, so we're going to keep everybody updated on what they're doing.
So congratulations to both of them. Again, congratulations to all 12 that signed their national letter of intent. Of course, you can find that full story as well on the richmondobserver.com. So before we finish up here with the show, let's head down a level and talk about some middle school basketball who are approaching the playoffs here. Actually, will have already played by the time we're talking about it here on the show. But that doesn't keep us from talking about it. So
yeah.
And again, we'll have all the updates for you on the Richmond Observer.
So college and middle school, we're going to do everything but high school in this episode. No, I'm just playing. So the middle school basketball playoffs started.
All encompassing.
Yep, they started Thursday, and probably the biggest thing, we had 5 teams from our county get in. Hamlet and Rockingham's both boys and girls teams got in, and then Ellerby's girls team got in. And what's really neat about that is all of them are going to get to host their first game.
Very cool. That doesn't happen very often.
It does not. So that's actually really good. So the Hamlet boys are 6-3. They're going to host the West Hope, who is 5-4 in the first game, or in the first round. Hamlet won the first one in a come-from-behind game, 57-53 over West Hoke. And the winner of that one will play at number 1 East Hoke on Monday, and that is and East Hoke is undefeated.
Yeah, I was going to say that's going to be a tough matchup with them being 9-0. So
yeah, East Hoke kind of ran the tables this year pretty easily, unfortunately. Also on the boys' side of things, Rockingham was number 3. They're 6-3 overall. They're playing 3-6 Spring Hill in the opening game. They easily won the first one.
So. Now, where is Spring Hill?
Spring Hill is in Scotland County. Okay. It's up near Wagrams.
Gotcha. And as you got here, they won their first meeting in the regular season in a thumper, 66-34.
Yeah.
So and then of course the winner there will play number 2, Carver, who's 8-1. Who's number 1 there? That's East Hoke, right? So that's all in the same.
Yeah,
conference?
that's all in the same. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So you got East Hoke is 1, Carver number 2, and I'll be honest with you, right now they're kind of predicted to make it to that title game, but we'll see if Rockingham or Hamlet can pull off an upset in there. Ellerby for the girls, 5-4. They're hosting Sandy Grove, who is also 5-4, and the Lady Wildcats won that first one by 13. It was 43-30. And they'll play at number 1 Rockingham on Monday.
And I think it goes without saying, the Lady Rockets this year have absolutely dominated, haven't they?
They have. I don't think many of their games have even been close.
I don't think so.
And then Hamlet did just enough to finish number 2.
Yeah.
And so they got a first-round bye. But West Hoke is hosting Anson. West Hoke is 7-2. Anson's 4-5. And the winner of that one will go to Hamlet on Monday for round 2. So.
All right, there you go. So keep it locked to the Richmond Observer. All of our platforms will have all the updates on all these games from middle school all the way up to college and pros. We do it all here with the RO Sports Show. So that's gonna do it for this edition of the Raider Wrap Up. Of course, we appreciate everybody tuning in each and every week for all of our shows here with the RO Sports Show. That's Dion Cranford. I'm Matt Harrelson. Have a great week. We'll see you right back here for another edition of the Ross Raider Wrap Up.